First Israeli airstrikes in Gaza ramped up overnight, targeting the city of Rafah. According to authorities in the enclave, dozens of Palestinians have been killed in the operation. Displaced residents have been in the southern part of Gaza for weeks and have nowhere to go. Now, Israeli forces say they've managed to rescue two hostages, a 60 and 70-year-old, from a heavily guarded apartment in Rafah. The pair are now at a hospital in Tel Aviv. The rescue is one of the few successes in hostage release from Israel's operation in Gaza so far. We can now go across to France 24's Catherine Norris Trent, standing by at that hospital in Tel Aviv. Good afternoon, Catherine. As I was speaking there, we were showing images of those very moving scenes at that hospital in Tel Aviv. Talk us through how exactly this operation took place in the early hours of Monday morning.
Hi there, Delano. Yes, this was a very dramatic nighttime rescue. So the Israeli military says their special forces conducted a raid on an apartment building right in the center of Rafah, starting in the very early hours of this Monday morning. And then they blasted their way into that apartment building, rescued the two hostages, aged 60 and 70, both Israeli Argentinian nationals, and managed to get them out into an armoured vehicle before they were thrown back by helicopter to here, Sheba Hospital on the outskirts of Tel Aviv. Now, they said they came under heavy fire while doing so, and that the Israeli soldiers were provided air cover. And we know that there was extremely heavy bombing in Rafah last night. Residents there reported, who we've been communicating with, it felt like the ground was shaking. Some of them woke up thinking it was an earthquake. Lots of panic there. But the Israeli military says none of their soldiers were injured during this raid, one of them slightly so. The two men have been brought back. They're receiving medical tests and getting rest in this hospital. Here behind me, we managed to catch up with one of the family members of the hostage, Louis Ha, who's aged 70. We spoke to his son-in-law, who told us of their surprise and emotion on getting the call that his father-in-law had been released. Take a listen.
It was in the middle of the night. We woke up from a phone call that really telling us, Fernando is here, Luis is here, please come to the hospital to meet and greet. We were, what are you talking about? So no, yes, please, they are here, they are with us, and they are safe. So you really don't expect it. Personally, would expect that they will come up back to us in a negotiation agreement or so.
He was saying there that he felt happy, but not completely happy, because there remain more than 100 hostages in Gaza, 134 perhaps by the latest count, although Israel believes that perhaps a third of those hostages have been killed. But the family members here speaking out today saying they won't be completely happy until all the hostages are brought home by military means or any other.
Catherine, as the person in that soundbite basically said that they won't be happy until all the hostages are released. Clearly, pressure will continue to mount on the Prime Minister to strike a deal, potentially bring those hostages home. But Netanyahu is digging in his heels and says this is the way to achieve victory and get those hostages back.
Right. Benjamin Netanyahu, the Israeli Prime Minister, of course, coming under a lot of pressure from allies such as the US, the UK and other European countries, as well as criticism from various Arab states not to push ahead with a full ground offensive into Rafah until all the hostages have been able to evacuate, which would be a huge logistical feat. Well, he took to Twitter, or his office did, this morning, the platform now known as X, of course, and said that he welcomed the hostages home, but that their rescue showed that it was through military pressure that Israel would win the war and bring all the hostages home. So he was using this very dramatic rescue as perhaps proof that continuing to take the battle to Hamas, continuing to fight on in Gaza despite all the controversy, is the best way to end this war. And he says, get the hostages home.